Welcome to the Southern California PGA Catalyst Series brought to you by PXG. Get ready to transform your game. With PXG, you'll experience exceptional quality and innovative technologies that produce real, measurable improvement on the golf course.
We are a fitting company.
Unlike anything else we go through, perfection. We approach everything with the idea that it's going to be fit.
Just maximum customization.
All I need you to tell me is, does it look the way I want it to? Does it feel good?
There's so much work that goes on behind the scenes. That's really where PXG stands out. Go farther, be more forgiving, and make it 100% right for you.
That's the experience we're all looking for.
It's just fun.
You need to go get fit for your golf club.
Okay, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Catalyst webinar series. This morning we have a star-studded cast. That's the understatement of the millennium, star-studded cast. Next week is Women's Golf Day, which runs from May 27th through June 3rd. And Women's Golf Day, it's a one-day event that runs the whole week that celebrates girls and women playing golf and learning skills that last a lifetime. It was kind of created by Elizabeth, it wasn't kind of created, it was created by Elizabeth Gaudet. She is the founder, and we have solicited a star-studded cast of very influential ladies and operators, owners, teachers, instructors, governesses of the PGA of America and the LPGA. Joining us this morning, Nikki Gatch, PGA Executive Director and Chief Operating Officer for the SCPGA. She's a certified PGA professional in player development. She's a former golf course owner and operator in her own right. She's worked for the SCPGA and the PGA of America for the last 10 years. Joining us also from Reno, Texas is Kathy Harbin. She's a PGA professional and an LPGA professional. She is currently the president of the Golf Course Owners Association. She owns and operates Pine Ridge Golf Course in Reno, Texas. She's a golf executive in management, development, and ownership, and she just recently concluded a 3-year term on the PGA National Board of Directors. Dawn Newyear, PGA member, has been the director of retail at Champions Run in Omaha, Nebraska for the last 25 years. She's currently serving on the National Board of Directors as a at-large director of the PGA of America. She's the recipient of the PGA of America's highest honor, the Golf Professional of the Year in 2022. Past president of the PGA of America, Susie Whaley, PGA Master Professional. She was the PGA of America president 2021 and 22. She's a Golf Digest Top 50 instructor and holds a Top 5 National Female Teacher designation by Golf Digest. She's a Master Certified U.S. Kids instructor. She's been named the PGA Teacher of the Year twice in the Connecticut section and twice in the Northeast section of the LPGA. Ladies, sorry so much for the long introduction, but it was definitely deserving. And for those that don't know the resumes, wanted to give that background. So thank you very much for your patience on that. For the PGA members that are joining us from the section, this is a round robin Cracker Barrel interview type format, and we are going to go right through it. Ladies, why don't you do a brief introduction if I missed anything, and say good morning to the attendees on this morning's Catalyst. Nikki, you want to go first?
Yeah, I'll start. Good morning, John. Thank you so much. For those of you that don't know, John Kulo serves as our section vice president and leader of the Catalyst series. He does these twice a month. He gets most of the guests lined up. He does this all on his own. I don't know how he balances it with being a general manager at a very busy private club and the father of 4 children. So, John, thank you for all that you do for us, and thanks for having us on this morning.
Thank you, Nikki. Thank you, Kathy.
Yeah, I don't know that I have anything to add to that, John. We appreciate the opportunity to talk to your section about women in golf on the as kind of a prelude to Women's Golf Day, which can be held throughout the week. So yeah, looking forward to the conversation.
And Dawn.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Thanks, John. I feel very honored to be on this panel. I've got some of my heroes and mentors right here with us all this morning. So this is super exciting and welcome everyone, and happy to help you out with your PDRs too.
Yeah, right. Hi, everybody. It's Susie. I'm just happy to be with you. So I hope you guys will ask some questions and let's have some fun. Women's Golf Day is like every day for me. So I'm thankful that we're here.
Indeed it is. Indeed it is. Well, when we were looking at the calendar and looking at Women's Golf Day coming up at the end of the May, when we set the Catalyst schedule, we just kind of thought about some of the most influential women in the game of golf, and the five of you. Allison Kurt is our section president for the SCPGA. She wasn't able to join us this morning. She's traveling, but thinking about who some of the most influential women in the game of golf, and your names came to my mind immediately. So without any further ado, I want to jump into some Q&A here. First question is for Kathy. Female access to the game of golf has significantly evolved over the past 100 years. Can you explain how that evolution has affected your development as a golf professional?
I could say that's not the past 100 years. That's evolved over the past 10 years even. We've seen quite a change in access for women's golf. I don't know the age range for the folks who are attending today, but some of us on this, as I know the panel, will remember when there were really tight restrictions on when at a private club when the women could go out and play and things like that. So it's almost hard to imagine at this point that still exists out there a little bit, but most of that's gone. And it's just the evolution of leaders like Susie and Renee Powell and even Nancy Henderson, who just resigned from her position with the LPGA, that set the tone for women to see themselves in the golf industry and realize that they had a place as a player and possibly as an employee somewhere along the way. It's changed, it developed. We're not 100% where we need to be, but the comfort at which women walk into a country club has significantly improved.
And Kathy, how would you say that has affected your development as an owner and an operator?
Well, I don't know that it has affected me personally because just as the other panel would say, I was going to do that anyway. So, I was already going to give full access, and I certainly do give full access. And so I'll just answer that with a little bit of a story about the golf course that I now own in Texas, in rural Texas. So I visited it several times as I was going through the process of buying it, and I spent 3 months there, almost every day for 3 months, and I didn't see one female show up. I didn't see a female riding with their husband or boyfriend. Zero for 3 months. And so I asked some of the guys who are some females that play in the area. They gave me a couple names, and we literally started with 2 women, and we started meeting every other week, talking about how we could grow the women's program. And now you could go there any Saturday and Sunday, and you're going to see just as many women on the golf course as men. And not just the women playing with their husbands or playing with their boyfriends, but in foursomes. Like they're going out and playing by themselves. They're having fun. They're really enjoying the game. And the biggest change is that they started to feel welcome and they knew they belonged. And I say that to women all the time. And to golf course operators, the best thing you can do for a female is to give them a sense of belonging at your club, that they don't feel like an outsider, that they feel like an insider, and they feel like they belong there just as much as anyone else. And I mean, I literally believe you could come here anytime and see an equal amount of men and women playing.
So how did that really happen at Pine Ridge? How did they start feeling welcome in a way that they didn't before?
Well, I'll give a Women's Golf Day example, and it's because it starts with an invitation, and we say not just an invitation, come out and play sometime, an invitation that says, come out Tuesday afternoon, I'll be waiting for you, and I will walk you through how to be more comfortable at a golf course. So the invitation has to be personal, and it has to be not just this vague invitation, very specific. So again, we fought the same the same predetermined thoughts that women had. I had a female who had ran a tournament at my place, and another female who was doing graphic design for me, and I invited them to the first women's golf day that I hosted, and they said yes, we'll come. They were friends, and so they get to women's golf day. They're in their parking lot texting each other. What do you have on? I couldn't figure out what to wear. I was Googling it last night. I've got yoga pants on. You think it's okay? They're not even getting out of their cars. That's how fearful they are about walking. And they've been on property and they know me, and I'm waiting for them and they know it. So we just have to understand this fear that women have about going to a golf course and going into this kind of foreign land. And I will gladly and proudly say those two women have joined. They play golf with their family all the time. They play golf. They have another group that they form of about 8 women. Because they're all working women. They play on Wednesday afternoons at 5 o'clock every Wednesday, and they have a few drinks. And so it really is the personal invitation that gets them over that barrier, because you can't count on them to do it on their own because it's too intimidating. They have to feel like someone's waiting for them and that they have a friend that's going to help them get through those barriers.
Talking about those barriers, how did that affect you in your role in governance, Susie?
Sorry. I was on mute. I do that all the time.
Okay. That's
I've
good.
been doing this, since COVID. All right. So I believe you're talking about female barriers in governance, I think is what you're
Indeed.
talking about.
Indeed.
Since that's the theme. So I think it's really hard. I think it still is hard. I think we would be lying if we didn't tell you that it was still incredibly difficult to walk into a room that nobody looks like you. And I think at the end of the day, it's about feeling prepared. It's about knowing that you have the skill set. It's about knowing there's tons of dimensions of diversity beyond gender that matter in a leadership position in a boardroom. And the more layers of diversity you can have in a conversation or a decision, the decision always, an outcome always turns out better. So for me, it was always more about what I had to offer, what I believed I could contribute, how I believed I could persuade, how I believed I could collaborate in a different way, how women come at things typically from a human aspect versus just the tactical business side of things. And that's a huge generalization. There's plenty of men that do that too. But I think it's an additive component to any room and to any leadership capacity that you choose to be a part of. So for me, it was more organic. I started meeting people in my section that helped me with my business, that helped me with any questions I ever had as I volunteered for committees. I created this cool network of people who are willing to help me, male and female, and I loved it. I got addicted to it. I got addicted to being able to ask great questions and having role models and understanding the dynamic of private versus public versus municipal. I worked at all three and I needed help. And the PGA of America, those people I worked with in governance have never said no to me. They've never not taken my call. They've been truth tellers. They've told me what's right, what's wrong, what they think. And we didn't always agree. And I ended up meeting some of my dearest friends through governance, but I think the barriers are still there. I'm not here to say they're not. I think the stereotypes are still there. We all have unconscious bias, including me, that you have to learn to figure out that's a bias for you. And it's not easy, but I can tell you it's worth it.
So, Nikki, what's been the most rewarding aspect of your journey?
Wow. Great question. I think, I would say ultimately achieving my career-long goal of becoming the executive director of the Southern California section. That was something that it was a goal that I set along with Tom Addis 16 years ago. Certainly wasn't ready at that point, but when I did share that was my goal and that's what I wanted to achieve, and I was lucky that I found sort of my niche in the admin side of this game and this industry, and saw what Tom did and his role, and I wanted to do that, and I shared that with him, and I'll never forget what he said is, okay, then it's my job to help you get there. and he certainly did. And I know Tom's on listening, of course. So Tom, thank you for that. But it truly has been, I know you said I worked for the section and the PGA for 10 years. It's more like 25, but thank you for thinking I was younger than I really am. But it truly has been great. It's been a great experience and getting to meet people like my fellow panelists here and, just being able to help serve and lead our section, which I'm super proud of our section and all that we do, and leading our 1,800 members. It's an honor and a privilege, and I love what I do. I have fun every day.
So jumping over to you, Dawn, in kind of touching on what Kathy had said about how much evolution there's been in female golf just in the last 10 years. You've been at Champions Run for 25 years. How have you seen women in golf progress through that tenure at one club for such a long time?
It's amazing the growth of women's golf. As you said, I've been here for 25 years. And when I came here 25 years ago, my husband also, he's the director of golf. So we came together as a team. And, merchandising has kind of always been my thing a little bit. And women's golf has definitely been something that I've championed my entire career, right? Because I wanted to get more women into the game. And, when we started out here, we probably had 40 ladies that played on a regular basis. Just having gals around me in the golf shop, welcoming, just like Kathy said, making sure that everyone that walked in felt comfortable was a major thing. And I'm so proud, and I hang this hat every day when I talk to people. I have over 200 women that play golf every Tuesday and Wednesday morning. And it's just been an incredible journey to see them come in. You walk in, you say, I know you don't have anyone to play with, but I'm going to find somebody for you, because everybody wants to play golf, and really no one's concerned about anybody other than themselves, right? Women have this stigma that they aren't going to want to play with me because I'm not very good. Well, that's not true. There are so many other women that would love to have more women to play with, so they welcome others in, but it is so intimidating. And I want, it's my biggest badge. We have 400 families that play here, and I have 50% of the women that come here. And just Tuesday night this week, we had a couples event, because I do a Tuesday night league, and we call it date night, where the women get to bring their husbands to the course to play with them. And so then the husbands get to meet the husbands of the gals that they're playing with within the group. And I had one gentleman come up to me that evening, and he said, this Tuesday night league has been the best thing that ever happened to my membership here at Champions Run, because my wife came out. She's invited me to these events, and now I have so many men to play golf with. His whole group changed. He now feels totally invested. So it's a two-way street, right? Some men are trying to get their wives here, but now their wives are getting their husbands here, and they're also having a blast as couples and as families. So it's just been super rewarding to have the opportunity to just open more doors for women in golf.
So over that tenure, Dawn, what's been the biggest challenge?
I would say the fear. I mean, and the club that I'm at, and I've only ever been at a private club. I've worked a little bit helping some others, but in this private club, we've got a golf course that's pretty challenging, right? And so it was kind of notoriously known to be more of a players club, right? So we did some forward tees and those kinds of things. And my biggest hurdle is getting the women here saying, it's really not that hard. It's not that hard. You can totally do this. And, and if we have to move up into the fairway and start you from there, we'll do that. Work from the green out, we'll get you going there. I would say it's the intimidation, and that's the fun part about being a mentor in your space, when you have your assistants coming up and through you, and leading by example of when someone walks in the door, you engage them, just like Kathy and Susie said, you just do your very best to welcome everyone and make them feel like they're supposed to be here. So I would say that's probably the biggest challenge, because women are fearful. They really are, and they still are. They're intimidated by this game. And we just need to figure out better ways to change that.
Hey, John, if I could add something into what everyone said a little bit so far, and especially bringing up Tom Addis, And Susie said this about the people along the way that she was able to call and ask questions. One of the things that I've said about Tom, and he's heard me say it before, is that for many, many years, I was one of the few females in a room, and maybe the only many times. And there are people like Tom who still would go out of their way to make you feel comfortable. And I've said before that Tom was the person in that room, whether he was president of the PGA of America or whatever office he held, who always came over to me and welcomed me and made me feel like I belonged in that room. And so I think that I would just like to say that to everyone, to challenge all of us to continue to be leaders like that, where if we see someone that's in a room that they clearly are not comfortable in, that we go out of our way for these young women to make them feel comfortable and make sure they feel this sense of belonging also, because really it just a couple of words sometimes can change their world with that.
That's kind of a perfect segue into the next question about mentorship. I know Tom has been a huge mentor to Nikki. He's a mentor to me, and obviously to you, Kathy. Susie, Dawn, who have been some of your biggest champions of mentorship in your career that have helped break down that fear in you?
Don, you want me to go or?
Go ahead.
So I've had both. I've been really fortunate to have mentors and sponsors, and I think there's a difference in that, and I think understanding that difference is really important too. So a mentor to me is somebody who I can bounce off the ideas off of, but aren't going to give me the answers to the test, are people who are going to help guide my direction, but not take me there, are going to help me amidst failures, figure it out and get better at it, and are going to celebrate my successes with me. I think sponsors are people that advocate for you in the marketplace, who talk about you in a positive way, who are supportive of things that you've accomplished, who are presenting you in a light that makes people know who you are and know your name. And I think when you're amongst many that don't look like you, or in whatever diverse context that means, sponsors are incredibly important as much as mentors. I think oftentimes I was offered opportunities in job positions, for example, because of people who sponsored me in the marketplace, meaning they talked about me. So people knew my name. They may never have met me, but it was easier for me to put a resume through and get a phone call. So you want to have both. And I have so many mentors currently that I work with. Many are scheduled on a biweekly basis or a monthly basis. Some of those I met through my PGA service. Independent directors who I have a monthly call with, just a catch-up call to talk through some strategies that I may be trying to do in a couple startups that I'm involved in. Or it could be about something in the golf business, golf related, or something completely separate. But those are really intentional times that I have with those mentors. I have other mentors who have been in my life that have come in and out of my life. So the Renee Powells of the world, Kathy Harbin, who I know I could call at any minute. You know, anybody on this panel for sure. But for me, some are past presidents of the PGA of America, Tom Addis, who we've already discussed. Anytime I needed to pick up that phone, even if I hadn't spoken to him in months, I know he would take my call and he would be accommodating to whatever I was asking him. But the best part about a mentor, I think, is the dual relationship, the back and forth. I think when you're a mentee or a mentor, it's a two-way street. You know, you have to bring something to that conversation out of respect for their time. But you also have to be ready to hear their real answer, which sometimes is not what you want to hear. So I think mentors have really helped me grow in my leadership journey, in my golf journey, and especially of recent in my business journey. And I don't know that I could do some of the things I've done without those people in my world. And that network started at the PGA for sure.
You touch on a couple of really good points, and I see it with my relationship here with our head golf professional, Courtney Shrout. And I've learned a lot about my mentoring, and I've learned about I've been able to see through my own mentorship how mentors have helped me along the way by not necessarily trying to provide me with the answers or fix my problem, just being there to listen and allow me to find my own way to the solution. It's so easy for, especially, you know, I'm guilty of this both, you know, privately and professionally, where someone comes to me with a problem, I feel inclined to try and fix it. Where, that's not always the role of a good mentor. A good mentor is there to listen and be supportive. And many times in those interactions, and I see it with Courtney, it just comes to mind, where she finds her own solution, she finds her own answer, and I was just there to listen. It's that knee-jerk reaction where she's coming to me with a problem and I need to fix your problem and tell her what to do. So a lot of times it's just being there to listen and be supportive and allow her a sounding board so that she could find her own way, not necessarily coming to me to solve her problem. She solved her own problem by just talking through it with someone who was there to listen.
I think too, really great mentors ask great questions, right, around what you're saying. And to your point, that listening aspect is fabulous, but they'll throw back a question at you that you think you've thought through, and you sit there and you go, huh, and those are the moments I think you have to learn how to embrace. I think, early in my business career, I really even couldn't listen back, right? Because I knew what I was going to ask next. I knew where I wanted this conversation to go, and I really couldn't take it in. I think as you get farther down your journey, for anybody doesn't matter how old you are on this call or how far you are in your career, I find the better you can pay attention to that moment and stay present in it with the person that you've asked for their time of, and really pay attention to what that question was before you're thinking about your next move and your next question. I think you'll find the time spent is just, it's time that I would never give back, because you sit there and you think, oh my gosh, how could I not have thought of that? Or that makes a lot of sense. Or I don't think we should go this direction now that you asked me that. And to your point, you've come up with that. And when you can come up with it on your own, I think you're so much more compelled to get in your car or to do whatever that next step is and to get it done, versus to continue to go around in a circle where you feel stuck in your career, stuck in a choice, stuck in whatever it is you're talking about. It will help you move one way or the other. And I think that's what we're all trying to do. We're all just trying to grow and get better. And it doesn't mean you're going to make the perfect choice. You may fall flat on your face, but that person will be there for you when that happens. And you could talk through that and figure it out and go a different direction and be agile. So for me, it's been instrumental in my career. And I'll say it again. If you don't have somebody that's that person for you, go find it. And I think have a conversation with somebody, and I think you'll be really happy you did.
So, Susie, would you say that mentorship has been the most rewarding part of your journey? And if not, what really has been?
I think the most rewarding part of my journey is the fact that I'm obsessed with golf, and golf is my passion. But I think it's proven to me that changing people's lives makes me incredibly happy through what I do. So I think I've always wanted, I've landed in a role I should be in. I've landed in an industry I should be in. I love my work. I love the people I work with. Not every day. None of us love the people we work with every day, but I basically feel incredibly grateful. So I think the most rewarding thing to me is that I found a place where I can pursue my passion alongside others that have that same goal. And I think when you have that luxury, it's a pretty incredible ride.
Now, what about the evolution of women in golf from a competitive standpoint? Susie, I think you probably have the most storied resume of any of the ladies on the call today in terms of your playing career. Can you talk about the lineage of how you embraced and conquered the fear through your playing career?
Yeah, for me, I think I was able to meet tons of people within the PGA of America governance structure because I played in tournaments that were a part of the section that I belonged. And so it was pretty easy for me to break in and have some connections early because I played. So I always share with people, male or female, if you're not playing in your tournaments because you're a fear of performance or you don't feel like that's the best part of your PGA career, I would say get over it because, yes, you care about your scores and I get that, but this is where you're going to meet some incredible connections. I don't feel like the PGA of America sections in general have an opportunity to get together anymore very often. I don't feel like, I think an annual meeting even is being bypassed by many. And I think that's really unfortunate, because it's the place you connect. It's the place you can meet people. And I think family time is so instrumental to people. Work hours are so long. I'm not judging, I get it, but you're missing out big time on incredible opportunities for networking. And I always found that playing in an event, even if it were only 4 or 5 a year, gave me the opportunity to sit around and have some lunch, or have a conversation with somebody I'd never met, or meet somebody who perhaps was a job opportunity in the future, or just, I don't know, just connect. And even if it's just with staff. So I think playing did that for me very quickly. I earned respect of the people I joined committees with, because I played. And I was, one of 2 females that were playing, and I just loved it. I loved the competition of it. I think where we've gone in female golf in the PGA of America worries me a little bit. And I'm going to be honest with you, because, I think we've worked so hard to unify and to be invited and to sit at the table together and be accepted together. So I always see diversification and separate things as not aligned with that. And I know many sections now have gone to women's section championships to gain more people in the fields, to ensure that women had a place to play where they felt comfortable. However, what does that do to the section championship? And what does that do to the opportunity to meet others in the marketplace that are employers? And so I struggle with that. I struggle with that separate, but same. And I don't know where that's going to lay out in the long run, because I know there's some females that only participate in that and feel comfortable doing that, and I would never want to take that away. But I think when we do things to separate, I think we just have to make sure we've thought about it and make sure we've really considered all the outcomes of that separate. So competitive wise, I wish that we were all playing together in section events, and I know that's not popular. So but I'm always opinionated. And you asked.
And we appreciate that. So Nikki and Kathy, I mean, Nikki, you went to Oklahoma State. Kathy, you went to Indiana State. You played competitively there. Can you kind of piggyback on what Susie said about the foothold that your playing career played in your professional career and that evolution?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, John. I was just spent a couple days, at the NCAA's out at La Costa. We're thrilled that both the men's and women's championship is being hosted in our backyard. Incredible skill level now. I look back and I think, gosh, I'm glad I played when I did, because I would have no chance. So it's really, really exciting to see the skill level and how it's evolved and elevated, and it's just incredible. I think playing at that level, even just because for me it stopped at the collegiate level, but just so much experience, to what Susie's already talked about, the people that you meet, the friendships that I still have to this day, and that was 30 something years ago, and reconnect with those people, last week and maybe going into this week. But I think it's the experiences, the travel, the meeting new people, meeting people from different backgrounds and different areas of the country or the world, is just incredible. It's an opportunity that, I didn't know how special it was at the time, as we usually do when we're young. But looking back, it was amazing. And I was not a great player, but I still was able to participate at that level and again, gain all those lifelong friendships and experiences that are just invaluable to me.
Kathy?
Yeah, I really, I'm kind of with Susie on this. I count my willingness to go play in chapter and sections events as the catalyst for my involvement with committees. I was in South Florida, and I was, taking members to pro-ams and playing in some, events and some different match play events and things like that, where I could still compete. This was before we had the 80%. So I was, competing, right alongside all the guys, which was fine because I wasn't necessarily there. I was a, average professional golfer. I wasn't there to win, but I was there to entertain my members and to just continue to be competitive. And during that, I met this guy named Bill Whaley, and he actually was the first person who ever invited me to serve on a committee. And it was because I got out there and played, and after serving on the first committee, I served on more committees, and I don't think he would have known who I was or even thought to ask if I hadn't went out and played. So it doesn't, you don't have to be the best player out there, but I do encourage everyone to go out and play and meet people. And I had another female friend that didn't play, and so and then we went to our annual meeting together, the annual meeting dinner, and we sat next to each other, and I got up and I was talking to people, saying hello to all these people, and then I came back and sat down. She's like, "How do you know all these people?" I'm like, I've been playing. I met them because I was out playing in pro-ams and events and things, and so yeah, I'm with Susie and encouraging all the people to get out there, regardless of your ability.
I didn't know that story.
You didn't know that story? Yeah. I remind Bill all the time. He's the first person to invite me to serve on a committee in South Florida.
For him.
Yeah.
Kudos to Bill. Okay.
Good job, Bill.
John, if I could jump in just real quick, along these lines of, being welcoming and competing and participating, totally on board with that. We started a women's division, actually it was led by Tom, back in probably 2007, I believe. We started small. There's just a few ladies and we played. We never canceled anything. Let's just keep going. That's how we've grown. We actually have a women's event later this morning that I'll be participating in. I think it's been great. We have probably about 8 specific women's division events, including a women's section championship. But I think what we've seen, at least the last few years, especially with a lot more younger players coming into the program as associates and then members, they are now transitioning and playing more chapter and section events and not just the women's events. So I think that's a huge positive. We have a lot of opportunities for competitive, events, whether it's specific to women. We have a senior division. We have an assistance division. We play a lot here because we can year round. So I think it's been great. We've seen tremendous growth. I just looked the other day. We've always hovered around 90 to 100 women in our section, which is great and probably one of the top in the country among the sections. It's amazing. We have 130 now. So we've seen tremendous growth of women getting in the industry. And I think there's some correlation there with our competitive junior tour. We'll reach almost 4,000 kids, and the percentage of girls now is 36%. I mean, that's incredible. When I played junior golf, we were lucky if it was 10%, and then when I was working in junior golf, it was hovering around 15 to 20%. And now we've just seen this incredible growth. They're going on to play collegiately. They're going on to play professionally. If that doesn't work out, we're doing our best to keep them in the game and keep them in the industry. And I think all of this is related.
Yeah.
So
you're absolutely right. And it takes patience because we see this all the time at our section. We see it at the national section. The female percentage of PGA members is 7%. And it seems like over the last 5, 6, 7 years post-pandemic, it's not moving. It's still 7%. But when you look at the junior golf growth, that change is coming. We just need to keep persevering and keep doing what we're doing and making the game accessible to everybody. And that percentage is going to increase. I mean, we look at the SCPGA section board. Half of our board members or almost half of our board members are female.
Close. Yeah, it's I think 6 women out of 17, which is incrable.
Indeed.
A woman president, and Allison. It's wonderful. It's awesome.
Yeah, that growth is coming, and you see it present in junior golf. It just takes patience. So one final question that I think we should ask each of us, and we'll just go around the horn. Who are we rooting for, And what is our biggest concern about the future of women's golf? Nikki, you want to start?
Thanks, John.
Yeah.
Who are we rooting for? We're rooting for everyone. But specifically and with the LPGA tour, is that what you're talking about?
Well, anything and everything.
Just
You know, you can
anything and
talk about
everything?
the
Yeah, I
dynamic.
think we have to root for each other, right? We have to root for just to what I just talked about, you know, bringing more, it starts at introducing the game and bringing more girls to the game, and then keeping them in the game, keeping their interest, and then educating them about the opportunities that are there for them beyond their education. You know, so, and we have not done a great job of that. But it is a focus of ours because we're like, we have 4,000 kids right under our nose. You know, a lot of them still don't quite understand that there are many more opportunities beyond playing professionally or just teaching the game. So we're trying to do our best to educate them on that. So I think really that's where it starts. I mean, I'm obviously very passionate about junior golf, and I think to your point, John, we're seeing the benefits of it, and we will continue to see the benefits of it. I think on a professional level, you know, the LPGA, I think just moved to a better spot this morning. If you all saw the announcement that, you know, unfortunately we're losing Craig Kessler, but I think it's a great move for him and for the tour. And I'd love to see that tour, you know, sort of get to the level that I know it can be. You know, it's a global tour and has so many opportunities to, you know, expose people to this game and all the great things that the game does, and specifically the LPGA. So to me, I think it starts with the young kids and then continuing to educate them through the whole process and through their journey, and hopefully they end up in our industry in some form.
Yeah, and I echo the positivity about the Craig Kessler move. Obviously, that news just came out this morning. I mean, he's been a positive needle mover and a champion for cultural change in the right direction for Top Golf, for us in the PGA of America, and no doubt that he'll do that for the LPGA Tour. Kathy, who are you rooting for, and what's your biggest concern?
Well, I'm going to say it's one and the same. I'm rooting for the 8,000 women who are now currently playing collegiate golf to see that they belong in the golf industry, and that they help them find a pathway into that. There's, as Nikki said, there's so many different jobs in golf now. You don't have to just stand behind the counter, or you don't have to just run an operation. And in a lot of ways, teaching golf is one of the absolute best jobs for someone who wants to have a family, whether it's a male or female, because you can pick your own schedule. So I'm rooting for all the golf industry to show that pathway to the collegiate women that love the game, many of which unfortunately put the clubs up after they stop competing. And so showing them an avenue, and then I'm waiting, really rooting for the golf industry to do a better job of making all those women feel more welcome and more comfortable, and helping them see that that there's a lot of things they could do and still continue to follow their love and passion in golf. Obviously, they have it, so let's keep fueling that fire.
Dawn?
Yeah, you know, John, I think you kind of nailed it. We need to be a little bit patient, right? So I've served on the membership committee for several years now, and we've made a lot of great inroads in getting people into the game, right? We see more than ever now, more people, I'm sorry, not into the game, but into the industry, right? We're promoting ourselves, and what a great job this is to have, right? We don't have to sit in a room with four walls. We get the best views in the world when we go to work, and we get to enjoy everyone that comes to the game, and we help others recreate, and that's fun. And I think it's really exciting and encouraging to see all the young women now in the PGM universities, for instance. You know, that percentage is growing incredibly, and it's great to go to the universities and see all the young women in the room, and how, you know, there are many avenues that you can work in this industry. And, you know, you could be your hospitality, right? You could be a membership director. You can do all kinds of different things. And it's not just strictly on the golf course. Although, you know, like Kathy said, teaching, what a great opportunity. You have the best of all worlds. You get to control your schedule, you know, and you can have the family. I know for myself, when I had my kids, my golf went to the back burner a little bit, right? And I kind of was that person that stepped back and didn't play in as many events. And then I have Kathy and Susie. You know, Susie's always said, just go play, right? Well, I was intimidated because unlike the Southern California section, there's only 6 women in the Nebraska section, right? So when you go to those events, it's all guys. I'm fortunate to have been able to be an officer and be involved and get to know a lot of those people. But it is intimidating when you go out there and you're competing against all gentlemen, and you know, and just like Tom Addis, we have those people in our sections that encourage us to play no matter what. We go out and we have a great time. And you know, for the women in the room that maybe don't play, I hope you do go play. I know I found it. I've renewed my love for the game, right? And Susie has really helped me with that as well. Like, nobody cares, you know, we tell our people nobody cares all the time what you shoot. Well, they don't care what I shoot either, right? Let's just go have a great time and get everybody to the course. So I think it's very encouraging, you know, what's coming down the pipe for women and all of the challenges we're still going to face, but all the opportunities that are out there too are immense. And women in this game can go anywhere, right? That was the first thing my very first mentor said to me. He said, "You're a woman, you can play, you can teach, you're a great merchandiser, and you're going to be able to go wherever you want because we need you." And you know, when a gentleman says that to you, someone that you respect, you really take it to heart.
Thank you, Don. And Susie, who are you rooting for, and what's your biggest concern? I think you touched on it a little bit with the competing separately as a concern, and I think that's definitely valid. But who are you rooting for?
How much time we have?
5 minutes.
Okay, I'm going to take this in a direction that I hope you can follow my logic. So I'm always rooting for the elevation of the PGA professional in a community, right? In workforce, in compensation, in opportunity, and in respect. So I'm always rooting for that. So that's what I would like to see continue grow, and it's grown, and that's incredibly exciting. We have more professionals than we've had. People are making more money. I realize that's a generalization. So if you're on and you're not, I apologize, but there are increased compensation numbers and data to support that. Supply and demand, more golfers, all of that excites me. And I want to see that continue. Where I struggle and where I think we still have a challenge, and why we're at 7% female really disturbs me. And I'll tell you why. I think this is my opinion, but women continue not to be elevated into the highest positions at facilities when they are capable and deserve to get promoted. I'm not talking about people who don't deserve it, or who don't have the credentials, or who don't fit the merit for whatever the job may be. But I'm incredibly tired of hearing from women who are continuing to stay at the same level throughout their careers as they watch others pass them, who perhaps should have been given that opportunity. So I think our biggest challenge is the golf community in general, seeing women as leaders. I think our biggest challenge is seeing more Kathy Harbins, more Dons, and more Nikkis in roles that they're in. And we're still not even close to where we should be for the women that I've met in the PGA of America and in this organization. We have plenty of men that are supporting that opportunity and behind that opportunity. But until more women own the jobs, until more diverse talent owns the jobs, we're going to continue to be from 4 to 7%. And there's a reason for that. Women see it. There's not enough growth in it. There's not enough time for them to get where they need to be or where they want to be. And it's very frustrating and discouraging. So I can't wait for younger women and younger men in our association to start speaking up and to start asking great questions of why they didn't get the job. So at the next interview, perhaps they have a better opportunity to get that job. I know we have a huge background at National helping people do that with ExecuSearch, but we need way more people talking about this and understanding why we're still at 7%. And while I'm celebrating the growth, I will continue until my last breath to fight for any single person that deserved a role and didn't get it because of the way they look. So I hope that changes. And I'm there for anybody who wants to talk about it, figure out how to interview better, figure out how to support, what kind of network you need. But I cannot wait till we change the face of who is leading the organization at clubs. And that's with no disrespect to the people that are currently doing it, but I'm excited for the day that comes.
Hear, 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 hear. Well said. Well, ladies, on behalf of the Education Committee for the Southern California PGA and PXG, our title sponsor of the Catalyst webinar series, want to thank you for carving out the time. Of course, we all know how immensely busy you are. Dawn, you have your member guests going on today, and basically the season openers starting there at Champions Run in Omaha. Thank you so much for taking the time to be on the Catalyst webinar series. We appreciate the support. For the PGA members of the section that are on this morning's webcast, you will receive 1 PDR credit, valuable PDR credit as the PDR cycle comes to a close for your attendance on this morning's webcast. Thank you for the support. Take care, everybody, and celebrate Women's Golf Day next week, May 27th through June 3rd. And take care, be safe, and have fun.
Thanks, John. Thanks for putting it
John.
together.
Thanks,
Thank you.
ladies.
Take care, everybody.